Gentlemen, time! Gentlemen, time!
Hey, what's up everybody? Shadowman number 9 here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a thrift shop that I found on my way home from work. It was located in an area that I don't normally spend time in, but I wanted to stop, take a look, and see if they had anything worthwhile. So as soon as I get into the shop, I'm really just making my way around, looking at anything and everything. I'm just trying to get a lay of the land, see where everything is, and figure out if there's any organization to the shop. It's definitely one of the smaller thrift stores that I've come across, but he had a decent selection of books, DVDs, and he did have some pretty cool toys and little small collectibles strewn about.
So I'm not mad at it. See, I can come here and vent to you. That's okay, I bought the cats. The cat moved in later. I get enough couches.
Now, one of the collectibles he had was this Batman Forever toy that was still in the box. It immediately caught my eye as soon as I saw it. I couldn't help but pick it up and take a look at it. The only problem with the toy was that the box was in very poor condition. The front of the box actually had a huge tear on the front, as if somebody maybe pulled it or snagged it and it ripped, or maybe a kid got a hold of it and was trying to tear it open before somebody took it away. But unfortunately, it's something that just made the toy that much less attractive. And at the same time, too, it's definitely something that I probably would have bought had it been in better condition, but that day I was really trying hard to look for some comic books. So toys and collectibles weren't really on my radar.
You gonna wear them?
They've been hot, bro. But he came in, he brought the camera, he's like, hey, they have $40 on it. Santa Claus, I'm not. I'm gonna play Santa Claus, but I'll remember that over time. So that's cool. So I think you did Santa Claus 2 times. He didn't show you a picture.
Last ride. I've been very sick, so I had to take my last ride.
Nothing contagious right now.
So at the time, I hadn't found any comic books yet, and there were still parts of the store I wasn't able to make my way over to because right after I came in, there was a bum rush of just nonstop people, one person after the other, so the shop filled up pretty quick and I was kind of confined to a limited space. But I did make my way back over to the Batman Forever toy. I was kind of thinking, you know, if I don't find any comics or anything else. At least this would be something cool to take home. You know, maybe I could talk myself into it. But upon further inspection, I flipped the box over, and the whole back has a tear the size of the Grand Canyon running down it. And there's scotch tape that's been put over the tear, as if, yep, good enough, they'll never notice that. But needless to say, I just had to walk away. I couldn't bring myself to do it. But lo and behold, in the 11th hour, just as I'm making my final sweep around the store, I come across this one shelf just on the other side of the Batman toy. There they were, a whole stack of comic books just waiting for me. And the coolest thing, at least for me anyway, is you'll see when I start to go through them, a lot of these comics are independent publishers. We're talking Malibu, the Ultraverse, we're talking Paragon Publishing, and of course Valiant. And all of these in extremely good condition too. Now I can understand if this doesn't impress anybody. I mean, you can go to a comic shop, look in a dollar bin, and find just about any Valiant or Malibu comic book. You know, any of these independent publishers, you can find them in almost any dollar bin at any named comic book shop. But to find them in the wild like this at a thrift shop of all places, dude, it just made my day. Now the coolest thing, which you don't get to see, was I went and met the shop owner as I was checking out. And the first thing he did was apologize to me that he didn't have more comic books, which I kind of just laughed off. But the comics were priced at $1 per comic, and there were 7 comics total. So he takes the comics and he counts them. But he counts 7 and then says, we'll just call it 6. Now, the one thing I didn't show you guys was I'd actually gone to a pile of CDs, and I managed to find an As I Lay Dying CD for $1.99, which was in really good condition. I figured, screw it, I'll go ahead and grab that too. So I had 8 items with me. He counted 7 comics and said, let's just call it 6. Then he takes a look at everything else and says, we'll just call it $5. So I didn't even have to do any kind of bargaining or haggling. I mean, not that I was going to, but the dude did all the work for me. And I talked to the guy for a little bit. He's a really cool guy. He's been doing this a long time. He says he's made enough money doing this that he's able to actually help people out who are looking for certain things. He's able to really give them a good price on things and still walk away knowing that the bills are going to be paid. So I took his word for it, gave him the $5, and I was on my way. Alright guys, we just got back to the house. I got my comics here in hand. Ready to show those to you. I didn't buy anything else. He had some other pieces, some toys and things that I came across that I had my eye on, but it was really nothing I wanted to deal with at the moment. I was really interested in that Batman Forever action figure that was still in the box, but the box was so damaged. I could have maybe talked him down from the $20 price tag, but it just didn't seem like it was worth the effort, to be honest. The Batman Forever action figure was nothing I would have held on to. Let's not say that. I guess, because I actually have some Batman action figures. I even have some Batman Forever action figures from when I was a kid. So, it's possible I could have held on to it just for my own collection. But at this point in time, I'm very into comic books again at the moment. And I'm really trying to flesh out my collection of comics. So, I probably would have gotten the Batman Forever action figure and then just resold it. It just wasn't in, or at least the box just wasn't in as good a condition as I would have liked to have had it to resell. But I'm very happy with the comic books that we got. I've got them right here. I'm going to go ahead and put them on the stand, and we're going to go through what I got. So go ahead. After that Mortal Kombat unboxing video, we're going to go ahead and do it this way, because I think that was pretty sweet. Alright, first up, we've got DC Hero number 5. I know absolutely nothing about this book. I don't know anything about the series. I've never heard of it. This is the first time I've ever seen a copy of this series. The only thing I know about it is that it was published in August of 2003. That's really about it. I did look it up on eBay when I got to the car just to see what kind of a value it had, and it really doesn't. The highest that I saw this issue particularly go for was $3.99. There was another listing for $2.99 over in the UK, so $2.99 and like $1,000 shipping. But that was for this issue and 2 others in the series. So I'm contemplating what to do with it. I don't read comics out of order, so I probably won't read it. But I don't know too much about it to get interested in it at the moment. Maybe I'll read up on it and see if it's anything worth keeping on to. It's in good shape. At least it looked like it was. Yeah, a little couple ticks down here. Nothing too outrageous though. A little bit of a fold and maybe a little bit of blunting down there, but otherwise it looks pretty clean on the front. So, I mean, I could always just keep it just because. I mean, I got it for $1. But, yeah, that's really it about this one. I know nothing about this comic. I've never heard of it. It's kind of strange because I'm usually at least somewhat in the know for, even if it's not books that I read on the daily basis. You know, I at least have heard of things or seen things or know people who have read, you know, pretty much everything. But I've just never heard of this. No one's ever talked to me about it. I've never seen it make its rounds on the internet. So I know nothing about it. I'll probably keep it for a little bit. I thought maybe I could throw it up online and get, you know, a couple bucks for it, but it doesn't even look like the copies that are up is grabbing anyone's attention. So, let's move on to the next one. Alright, next up we've got Ghost Rider, Return of Vengeance, issue 1. I believe when I looked online, this was the cover 1F variant edition by Kyle Holtz. I don't know anything about this series either. I love Ghost Rider. I do read Ghost Rider, but I don't know anything about this story. I'm super excited to have it, and an issue 1 is pretty sweet. Because again, I don't read books out of order, so I can actually start this series and read it from the beginning, which is great. This is definitely something I will hold on to. I found this book at least has a little bit of value to it. I've seen people on eBay trying to sell it for like 20 bucks. I know that the Virgin cover, where it's just the artwork, no lettering, no Marvel brand logos or anything, that goes for a lot more. But again, I don't resell usually. I'd like to collect comics and read comics, so this was definitely a buy for me, and I was totally excited to see Ghost Rider on that shelf in the thrift store, because I barely come across any kind of Ghost Rider. It's usually, you know, very mainstream DC and Marvel, you know, X-Men, Superman, Batman. Ghost Rider, even though he's a popular character, he has a fan following, I've never really seen him out there in the wild unless I'm in a comic shop or something, you know, and then they've got back issues I can look through. But this was a pretty cool find, and I'm very happy that it's something recent I can read up on, and from the beginning. So, let's see what else we got. Alright, let's see here, we got... The Visitor. Yeah, Valiant Comics. So this was where I got really excited because I started seeing Valiant, MALIBU, and I read that stuff. I love independent comic books. I'm a very off-brand kind of comic reader because I got tired of Marvel and DC for a while, so then I bounced over to Image, and then some of my favorite video games and stuff got adapted with other comic book publishers, so I learned about other publishers, more independent publishers, and kind of got into their books. And Valiant has a lot of really good heroes. They have Exo Manowar, they have Ninjak. I actually went to an antique shop that just opened up down the road from me, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they had Ninjak 1 through 7. And the crazy thing is, like, the books are great, but they don't sell. Nobody's looking for Ninjak, nobody's looking for Valiant. So I go to comic shops sometimes, and for like $1, they have these great books in beautiful condition. I buy them every single time. There was a comic shop, I think it was Gods and Monsters in Orlando, I went to, and he had a couple of back issues of Valiant comics in a box, in a fucking broke down box that like nobody looked in. It was like the exiled comics, and I grabbed all the Valiants, and he gave me a hell of a discount just because he was like so happy I was picking up the Exiles. So I saw this. I've never seen a Visitor comic out in the wild. I've never seen it in a comic shop. It's usually Solar, it's usually Ninjak, Exo Manowar. From time to time you can maybe catch like Eternal Warrior, but I've never seen the Visitor. But I know of the Visitor. He's pretty badass. And the cool thing is, like, they kept his identity a secret for most of his publication, except for like the last issue, which reveals his origin. I've not gotten to that, so I don't know too much about, you know, who he actually is, but he's a badass. And this is the Visitor versus the Valiant universe. This was not something I was aware of. It kind of seems like maybe, you know, like how Marvel did, like Punisher kills the Marvel Universe, or, you know, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. I feel like it's got that kind of gimmick going for it, but I'm interested to see what the story is. It is issue number 1. I looked it up on eBay as soon as I got into the car, and I found that there were a decent amount of these issues going around. They are paired with issue 2. A lot of the listings are paired with issue 2. And I believe I also found issues 3 through 13 along with issues 1 and 2 in a listing. So I may actually go ahead and pick that up later and check that out because, you know, again, I don't know too much about The Visitor other than just things I've read, things I've seen, and I love Valiant. I've been reading Valiant, Malibu, and Eclipse and all them for many years. Really good stories, really good heroes. You should check them out if you haven't. So I was very excited to find this book, and it only got better from here. So let's check it out. Alright, let's see here. The Second Life of Dr. Mirage. So Dr. Mirage, another Valiant hero. He's pretty fucking cool. He's actually this, like, how do I explain it? He's like this ghost-like superhero with supernatural abilities, and then he actually helps the police solve, like, paranormal crimes. And again, just like The Visitor, I've actually never found any of his books out in the wild. I've never seen him in any comic shop. I've only read of him online. So this was pretty exciting to have found him just kind of out in the wild hanging out, and for $1 no less. Not that I think that there's anybody in the world that would charge too much for Valiant or any kind of like off-brand publisher. But that's the crazy thing, is these comics are in great condition. I don't know who had them. But, you know, there's like a little bit of blunting at the bottom here. You know, the spine is in generally good condition. You got like one minor tick there, one minor tick there. And again, I'm not even the kind of guy, like I'm not a reseller, so like the condition, so you got a little bit of folding right there, a little bit of color break. I like having things in as good a condition as they absolutely can be, but it's not a must. I mean, if it doesn't affect the read of the comic, I'm fine with it, you know? But Dr. Mirage is a great hero. He's Valiant. I can't stress enough, Valiant has a lot of really cool heroes. In fact, you guys might have even seen the Bloodshot movie with Vin Diesel. Bloodshot is a Valiant character. Now, that version of Bloodshot is, you know, that's a whole other story. There's been multiple Bloodshots. Vin Diesel's Bloodshot was like one of the more recent incarnations of Bloodshot. So if you didn't necessarily like that movie, or if it left a bad taste in your mouth, don't use that as a judgment for whether or not you should get into Valiant. You should definitely get into Valiant and check out the other heroes, and then make your judgment on whether or not you want to read those comics from there. Yeah, I didn't show any emotion in the video when I found the comics, guys, because I mean, you know, the shop owner was talking to people, and you know, I was trying to be as quiet as I could and just kind of be in my own little bubble. But dude, I was freaking out when I was going through the stack of comics and fucking Valiant, Malibu. Dude, it was just this actually made my day. So Dr. Mirage, very awesome. All right. What do we got next? An absolute banger, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are completely unaware, this is Prime. Prime is one of the most badass heroes of the Ultraverse. Ultraverse is an imprint of Malibu Comics. That's where they have all their big, super-powered, superhuman, fucking big, buff, manly, buff dude superheroes. And Prime, in my opinion, is probably the most interesting of them all. Now, I will say the character is kind of reminiscent to Shazam, although he doesn't have a special magic word that a wizard gave him in some cave far, far away from his parents, where he probably shouldn't have been left unsupervised. And then saying that word turns him into this superhero. He's actually this kid named Kevin Green. He's like, 13 years old, preteen, kind of the same. But he's got the power to transform his physical form into this like superpowered adult. But he has the same brain. So you got this big, manly, fucking buff superhero who has the mental capacity of a 13-year-old. And instead of being given a magic word that gives him his powers, he was actually experimented on. When his parents were trying to conceive, they were having trouble conceiving. So there was actually this government program that created like modified babies that his parents went through, and Kevin was the result. Now, the cool thing about Kevin is that Marvel actually purchased Malibu Comics in the 90s. And when Marvel acquired Malibu, they immediately started throwing certain heroes from the Ultraverse into the Marvel Universe, most notably with an event called Black September. And now, during the Black September event, Kevin actually got lost in the Marvel Universe, but was befriended by Spider-Man, of all heroes, which is just so awesome. And over time, he actually developed this new Prime, or this new form called Spider Prime, which was seen in the Spider-Verse event. Now, I don't think Kevin was part of 616. In fact, I'm trying to look it up now. Yeah, Kevin Green, Earth 93060. So he's not part of the main canon. He is still part of the Marvel Universe. In fact, I think it was him and another hero called Prototype that met the Black Knight during Black September. But anyway, I was super stoked to see this when I was looking through the stack of comics. I've actually got something coming in the mail that's Prime related, and I'd like to make a video on that, so stay tuned for that later. And in the meantime, let's keep it rolling. Oh, again, by the way, great condition on these books, by the way. You know, very, very, very fine. You know, the top of this one has some blunting, a little bit of color break there in the spine. But again, just look at that cover. That is gorgeous. There's nothing. There's no folds. There's no creases. You know, the spine has a little bit of wear, but these were kept in really good condition. Ah, The Strangers. Okay, so these guys, I've actually never read their books. I know of them. I've never found their books in a comic shop or out in the wild. This was my first time finding anything relating to them. I've read up on them on the internet, and if you are a Marvel person, you may know them from the Marvel Universe, because again, they're part of the Ultraverse that was acquired by Marvel, and they are also a couple of the heroes that were included in the merger. So they are also a part of Earth 93060, along with Kevin Green, Prime, Prototype, and whatnot. So maybe you know them from the Marvel connection, maybe you don't. Either way, you should definitely check out the Ultraverse comic books. I don't know if Marvel has done anything with the characters like Solo, if they ever gave them their own books. I doubt it. I think they were just kind of thrown into other storylines just to include them and say, hey, look what we got. But I'm going to definitely look for issues 1 through 3 so I can get started reading on The Strangers. And again, just like with every other book, the condition is absolutely beautiful. Down here we have a little bit of blunting, a little bit of color break. Spine is... might have a little tick right there. But dude, seriously, like, these are in great condition. I can't even complain. I mean, there's nothing to complain about. And I got all these for $1, man. You can't beat that. Yeah, Strangers are awesome. Prime's awesome. But here we are, kids. We've made it to the last book that I found at the thrift shop today. And it can only be that one comic. And you guys all know what comic it is. No, you don't, because I haven't turned it over. That comic would be Golden Age Men of Mystery, issue 11 by Paragon Publication. I know nothing about this. I don't know anything about this comic. I feel like I've heard of this comic somewhere. I don't know. I want to say I learned, or it was mentioned, I maybe learned about it in a Casually Comics video. I feel like she mentioned it in one of her videos, or at least Catman, the character of Catman. Otherwise, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm looking at, and I've tried looking online, and the only thing that comes up are listings or people trying to sell the comic, or there's the Men of Mystery comic series by AC Comics, which is, I don't believe is the same thing. So I can't even get like a synopsis on this book, what it entails, what it's about. So this is going to be a fantastic read. I doubt I don't want to say I doubt I'll ever get the other, issues 1 through 10, because it does look like there's a bunch on here for sale. So maybe that'll happen, but maybe I can skim through it at the very least, because I'm very intrigued by this comic. I've never heard of Paragon. I've never heard of Golden Age Men of Mystery. I swear I feel like I've heard of Catman from somewhere. But that's about it. That's the extent of my knowledge on this book. So as far as independent comics go, like this might not be a holy grail financially. I don't think any of these comics are super valuable, but the mystery behind them, the allure of their independence within comic books in general, I feel like I hit $1 million, to be honest. I mean, maybe that's a little bit sad for some of the comic people out there that are actually going out and looking for keys after keys and issues that are going to bring them like, over $6,000 or something. But I mean, I know independent comics don't have a huge following, but I've found a lot of great stories, a lot of great heroes to follow in those independent publishers. And this is just fucking cool. I don't know what this is, and it intrigues me. And it's so funny because I almost did not go to the thrift shop. He closed at 5. I got out of work at like 3:30, and I was kind of tired. I was like, man, I'd probably just go home. Don't need to spend any money. What's the chance you're gonna find comic books anyway? Sure enough, went to the thrift shop, and he had 7 comic books. And the guy was extremely cool about it too, because he had 7 comic books, and he's counting them, and he counts the 7 comic books, and he goes, let's just call it 6 comic books. I said, okay. And he goes, what, I got them for $1 each? Let's just call it $5 even. I didn't have to do any negotiating. So the cool thing is I got all of these comics for $5. There's a couple in here that if I did decide to sell, I would definitely make a profit on it, but I have no plans of selling. I'm not a reseller. These are definitely staying in my collection. I will definitely read these at some point. And I really feel like after this find today, it's really invigorated me to want to go out and look for more. I'm actually really excited with what I found, and I just want to keep it going. So this is what I've got, guys. I've got 7 really good comics. 7 really good 5 really good independent comics, and then 1 mystery DC comic I've never heard of, 1 Ghost Rider, which is pretty awesome. If you guys haven't heard of these independent books like the Ultraverse or Eclipse Comics, Eternity Comics, or anything like that, I really implore you guys to go check those out, because there's a lot of really cool heroes, especially if you're done with Marvel and DC. I know modern comics are really lacking in the story department. There's really not a lot that they can do anymore, and what they're trying to do is just absolutely fucking absurd. It's not even worth the read most times. So I would suggest jumping ship and going and investing your time in some of these independent comics like The Strangers, Prime, Dr. Mirage, Exo Manowar, Ninjak. Regardless, I'm extremely fucking excited. I want to get back out there and find more shops and more places to find comic books. Who knows, I might find more Golden Age Men of Mystery. I'm going to check this out and really see what it is, and I'm going to get to reading on all my other stuff. And that's about it, guys. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. Keep on reading, and yeah, catch you next time. Bye.